I want to show you how to graph points in a coordinate plane. The first thing I need to do is make sure you understand the vocabulary that has to do with the plane. In geometry, a plane is a flat surface. It goes on in every direction and it's flat. So this is a coordinate plane. We've already learned how to graph lines in a horizontal number line. So if you can kind of ignore the fact that this is here, you see that we're really just looking at a number line here, a horizontal number line, where if 0 is in the middle, when you move to the right, it's positive, and when you move to the left, it's negative. So all we're going to do now is throw in a second direction. We're going to throw in a vertical axis. So now we can graph something in two directions. Okay, to know how to understand the vertical direction, if you start here at 0, if you go up, that's a positive movement, and if you go down, it's a negative movement. Okay, so your two axes, your horizontal axis and your vertical axis, actually intersect at a 90-degree angle. They're perpendicular, and they intersect at a point called the origin. Okay, so what's new to us here is that these axes are going to have names, and that's really important that you know which is which. The horizontal axis is called your x-axis, and your vertical axis is called your y-axis. And we need to know which is which so that we can graph points and find points and label points, tell somebody else how to find a point. So how we do that, we use what's called a coordinate. A coordinate could also be called an ordered pair. Okay, so I might say, what is your, you might actually hear pilots use this. What are your coordinates? Or people that go geo-hunting or whatever it's called, where they go and look for things that people have hidden and put on the internet. They look at coordinates. Okay, a coordinate is a location. And we call it an ordered pair because there's going to be two directions. Remember, you have the left-right direction and the up-down direction. So we're going to put them in parentheses, two numbers with a comma between them. And the ordered part means that the order matters. The first number in your parentheses will always be the x, and your second number will always be the y. So we have an ordered pair, two numbers that the order is going to matter. Okay, so the x-axis, remember, is the horizontal one. So your first number is going to have a left-right movement. Your second number is going to have an up-down movement. Okay? So I think the best way to show you how to graph a point is to go ahead and do some examples. Before I do that, I want to mention one more thing here. I forgot another vocabulary word we want to learn. Your axes, your x-axis, the horizontal, and your y-axis, the vertical, they're actually going to divide your plane into 4 regions that we call quadrants. So the one where everything is positive, so an x movement and a right movement, up here, that's where we start counting. So we refer to this as quadrant 1. And we're going to name these with Roman numerals. So quadrant is the vocab word. I'm just going to number the rest of them. So this is your first quadrant, and then they go in a counterclockwise direction. So the second quadrant is right here. The third quadrant down here, and the fourth quadrant over here. Okay, so those are Roman numerals. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's go graph some points. So I've got 4 examples here for us to try together. Put that so we can still see our vocabulary and see our points. Okay, looks good. Okay, the directions say to graph and label. So graph means put that point in your coordinate plane, and label means you're going to give it a name, usually named by a letter, actually always named by a letter. Okay, so let's do the first point, point A. So remember, the first number is your x number. That's your x direction, left or right. Okay, we do this by always starting at the origin. So we're going to put our pencil point on the origin. Okay, let's try and do it like this so you can still see the point. Okay, so the first movement is going to be a positive 4. Positive is to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then my second number is going to tell me my vertical movement, up or down. So it's negative, so I'm going to go down 1, 2. I plot my point or graph my point, and I'm going to label it point A. Okay, so 4, negative 2. So start at the origin, start with the x, left or right, positive 1, 2, 3, 4, and then y, up or down, negative 1, 2. Okay, let's try the next point. Point B, the x, the first number is 5. It's positive. So your first movement is your x, that's a left-right. It's positive, so we're going to go right. So start at the origin and move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now notice I didn't make a point after my x movement. I did not make the point until I move in the y direction. So my second number is positive 3. The second number is your up, down. It's positive, so we're going to go up, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to label it point B. Okay, our third point, I gave you actually a little tricky one. I see a lot of mistakes when one of the numbers is 0. So you have to be very deliberate here. Which one is 0? It's the first one. So remember, your first movement is left and right. So I'm at the origin and my first movement is 0. Well, that means that I do not move. So I have no I have no x movement, no left-right movement. I do have a positive 2 y movement, 1, 2. So I'm going to go vertically in the positive direction 2. And there's point C. Okay, and the last point, we're going to start the origin. So back up here at 0, 0. The first number, negative 6, is our x direction. Okay, that's our horizontal movement. So it's negative, we're going to go left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our second movement is up or down, and that's negative 1, that's the y movement, that's a vertical movement. It's negative, so we go down 1. And we graph our point and label it point D. Alright, great. Go try some practice.